Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session about what no one tells you when you become a business leader, hosted by ASO's national office, which consists of ASO Phoenix, Las Vegas, San Jose, Arizona State Collegiate Chapter, Southern California, and the University of Arizona Chapter. My name is Serena Lai. I have been with ASOL for a little over a year now. I serve on the board as the Director of Communications. Outside of ASOL, on my day job, I am an assistant general counsel for GoDaddy, which is the largest domain registration company. And we also have a whole slew of website builder solutions. Now, before I bring in our speakers, I want to talk a bit more about ASOL and what we do. So ASOL's goals are we cultivate and empower leaders for professional excellence. And we do this by connecting accomplished professionals for mutual success. We also engage and participate with a variety of community events at large, and we inspire leaders to make meaningful differences, whether that's in the government sector, education, business, or in society in general. Lastly, we also want to empower our youth and collegiate programs through mentorship programs for emerging leaders. ASOL is the largest and fastest growing Asian American professional organization in Arizona, with one professional chapter in the Valley and two collegiate chapters, Arizona State University and the University of Arizona. And we have also expanded to Southern California, San Jose, and Las Vegas. In line with our vision of a world where everyone has the skills and opportunities to lead, we lead with our strong values. ASOL's values are leadership, education, accountability, and diversity. In order to achieve our goals, ASOL offers a diverse range of professional development programs on a local level. These include a series of panels, workshops, and seminars. ASOL engages its membership in community activities and, as I mentioned, ongoing mentorship programs, cultural awareness, and professional networking events. If you're interested in being a part of the organization, feel free to send us a message or visit our website. Now, thank you so much for joining us on an informative and exciting event with two incredibly talented and hardworking entrepreneurs. Brian Pham, the founder of Asian Hustle Network and Crushing It in Real Estate, as well as Ian So, CEO and co-founder of Chicken and Rice Guys. Say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
In this session, we will discuss the career journeys of both Brian and Ian, what it means to be a business leader, how they've successfully started their business, and the challenges they are in overcoming in the midst of a pandemic. We welcome all of you to join us in a very special presentation that follows the journeys and career path of these notable individuals. If you have any questions during the presentation, please just feel free to ask them at any time and we'll address them along the way. So don't be shy and just ask away. All right, now let's start with a short introduction on the career journey. We can start with Brian and then we can go with Ian. Tell us a little bit about your business and how the idea of your business came about.
Definitely. Thank you, Serena, for moderating this. This is an honor to be here today.
Yeah.
So about myself, I started my career as a software engineer. As I was working throughout my career, I didn't feel fulfilled. I actually felt a lot of sadness and emptiness inside. At the same time, I thought that I needed to change the scenery, so I moved to the Bay Area. And when I got here, I was like, man, it's so expensive here. Even working as a software engineer, like I still had trouble affording a place by myself. So as a result, when I moved up to the Bay, I had 4 or 5 roommates living inside one house, and I still had struggle with money. I'm like, oh man, I need a side hustle on top of having my job. So around 5 years ago, I got into real estate. So I worked with a team in the Bay Area called Strong & Bonds Properties. Together, we flipped a bunch of houses in the Bay. This is around like 2016, 2017, and 2018. We did really well as a team. And as we were growing our company together, I started to think about what else can I do is give back to the Asian community. And around 2018, 2019, I had this crazy idea to start an Asian Hustle Network to bring together the resources, connection, mindset to uplift and help each other. So that's kind of my career journey in a very, very short sense. To answer the question, how did my idea come about? It came because I was doing a lot of business with different organizations, different people, and I realized that the Asian reputation inside media, investment and corporate ladder is always lacking. So it kind of spurred me to kind of take action to solve this problem.
Nice. That's awesome. And what about Ian?
Yeah, I had the same kind of feeling from Brian. I was working at a startup, and I remember I had my day-to-day tasks, and I finished them, and I was like, okay, what can I do to make this company better? So I made a report about like all of our customers, who's been repeating, and how we could attract them. And then I told my boss. My boss was like, "Oh, this is really cool. Let me show it to the CEO." The CEO saw it and then brought me into her office. And she like read the report, said, "Oh, this is nice." And nothing ever happened from it. And that was just kind of the feeling that I got working for other people. It's just like, I worked really hard there. I worked, yeah, very hard. And yeah, I never felt like I was getting anywhere. Every year I'd get like a 3% raise for cost of living adjustment or whatever. I'm like, man, it's gonna take me a long time to not only get rich, but like to find a fulfilling job. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna be here 40 hours a week, right? So that's when I started to think about, okay, maybe take control of my own destiny. And that's when I started to test different side projects at work. And one of those ideas was the chicken and rice guys food truck idea.
Yeah, I really admire you guys, being entrepreneurs. Like myself, I'm kind of stuck in this corporate job, but if I have the courage that you guys have, I definitely jump ship and start a career in entrepreneurship. That's amazing. So then how did you start deciding, this is the career that you want to go to, this is the business. How did you raise funding for your venture?
Ian, you want to go first?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll go first since I raised less money than Brian. So I just bootstrapped everything. I don't know if I would recommend it, but that's what we did. We literally put in about $10,000 into the business each. So that came from our paychecks. So literally every week we got a paycheck. We put it into a fund for our business. And then some of it we put on credit cards, and some of it I got a loan from my mom, a small amount.
Awesome.
So
And
yeah.
awesome. And for myself, for Asian Hustle Network, it's a passion project of mine. So it's mainly self-funded through my real estate investments, which is kind of a good thing. But for my real estate investment, how I would raise money, I used to host real estate meetups in the Bay Area. And I got to meet a lot of people, like over hundreds of thousands, if not thousands of people. I was able to build a reputation having my real estate podcast to kind of establish myself as a real estate expert and kind of post throughout social media, raise from friends and family, and really build a reputation that you're not only dependable with money, that you can get the job done, you can get them the return of their money. I would imagine it would be very similar once you start raising money for Asian Hustle Network. So we're in the process as well. But yeah, Ian, be very resourceful. Use your own money at the very beginning. And there's a misconception too that raising money is not entirely a good thing. You kind of give control. You're reporting to other people. You lose the ability to make decisions in your own corporation, your own company. So there's always pros and cons to reevaluate everything.
Family and friends are always the best supporters for you, when it comes to business ventures. Totally agree with that as a good starting point. So now that you've actually kicked off your ventures, how do you build a successful customer base? Brian, Ian, who wants to take the first lead?
So for me, I always put the employees first. To deliver good service, you have to have very happy employees that are engaged, that care about their work. And so what we do for our employees is we have a lot of fun parties, a lot of drinking, a lot of food. Make sure we do retreats. So we go up to New Hampshire, rent houses, play games, stuff like that. So we have fun, but we also make sure that their professional needs are taken care of. We do a quarterly survey, a leadership engagement survey. Our scores are routinely higher than the industry by 2 to 3 times. And we read every survey. We look at every comment, and we address every problem. We don't let things just go on. Gallup has an amazing survey that we use, and they have 21 questions. Some of them are like, and these are like things that people don't always think of, but it's like, do my employees care about doing good work? Do I have good relationships with my coworkers? Does my manager care about my development, right? So we do all of these 21 questions. We collect all the results, and then we make changes. And I learned a lot of this from the Netflix, the Zappos, the Starbucks culture. They place a lot of emphasis on their employees. In-N-Out, Southwest is the same way. Um, and if you take care of the employees, they'll take care of the customers. So we had one customer. They were so happy. They were visiting from Tennessee. They went back home, and they mailed a gift to the general manager because he gave such good service, like explaining the food, opening the door, cleaning the tables, right? That kind of service goes a long way.
Yeah, and for myself, it's a little bit different since I'm managing a community. I think for us, the mission statement is extremely important. What we're about, which is about uplifting the Asian entrepreneur community. What we do in terms of our values and morals is very aligned. It's also really important as well. Everything that we do, we have a very give first, take later mentality within our organization. And it really starts with, as Ian said before, our team. People look at our team, who we are we who we say we are? And once they see that we are very consistent with our values and morals, they tend to kind of emulate that. And we try to create a culture where, we're very selfless and we really want to help each other. And we put others' interests way before ours. And a lot of us in the team are exact same way. That's like one of the most important requirement to be in our team is to be very selfless, always willing to help others. But I think that's one of the true values of how you build a successful customer base.
Absolutely. I think, your employees are always your best advocates for you. Making them happy goes a long way for sure. So then what piece of advice would you give college graduates who want to become entrepreneurs? Let's go with Brian first this time.
Yeah, so the advice I would give them is to figure out what your passion is. Because passion, I think passion is the type of word that's been thrown around a lot, right? It's like, are you passionate about this? Are you passionate about that? And the way I see the word passion is, if you truly care about something, you'll kind of work through all the problems, because you're not passionate about something. If a problem arises and it causes you to lose sleep or be stressed or, be really upset, you're going to give up. So you have to find something that you're truly passionate about. That's how you ride through all the ups and the downs to kind of execute on your idea. The other thing I would say to college graduates who want to become entrepreneurs is to take their time to really learn about themselves. What are their strengths and weaknesses? How do they operate? How do you keep themselves motivated? Because when you're playing an entrepreneurial field, no one tells you what to do. Only you can tell you what to do. At the same time, it's like, can you get things done? Can you still, how do you take criticism? Do you pivot well? Do you understand market trends? These are things that take time to build up. Some people have it at such a young age, and it's great that they have it, but some people have it or gain that ability over time. There's never a right time or a wrong time to become an entrepreneur. It depends on your mindset.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Brian. That would be my number one thing is mindset, right? Passion, right? The other two things I'd like to add is like your network as an entrepreneur, right? And your learning, it starts in college. And I didn't really know that. In college, I had like a lot of different interests, so I had a lot of different friends. And because of that, I had a huge network coming out of college from like really interesting people. Babson College is where I went to. It's the #1 entrepreneurship school in the world. And 25% of them are international. And I went to school with some really wealthy like family business owners. My roommate runs currently the 16th oldest private company in the world. It's like from the 16th century in Japan. And so like I got to meet all of these people. One guy, he made $100 million from his dorm room, right? So all of these people were great resources down the road, not to only like share knowledge, but get resources, connections, all of that, right? So it all started in college, and it's crazy. You start from just partying, drinking with people, and then you grow up, become business people, and you're doing stuff together in the world. So definitely try to broaden your horizon, make different kind of relationships. I did that through like playing different sports, being in different clubs. I was the president of the Asian club. I was also like at just like the part of the comic book club, all that. And yeah.
College is definitely the good time to form, good solid bonds, whether it's through a few drinks or some mistakes together. Everyone learns from those mistakes, right? And that's where you grow. That's great advice. I would
I'm
probably,
sorry. I think I've said drinking like twice already.
hey, it's part of, it's part of networking a lot of times. Food brings people together. Um, Now, if you have a chance to start your career all over again, what would you do differently? I'll let you guys pick who wants to go first.
Nothing for me. So Brad, you go ahead.
I think if I can start
I
back,
believe in living and making mistakes, so you
yeah,
are who you are, right?
absolutely agree with that statement too. But if I can redo one thing, I would probably find a mentor at a much earlier age, because I feel like right now, I have a lot of mentors that are gonna guide me through and help me right now. But I'm thinking, okay, what if I had that at a much younger age? Because there's a realization that when I got to my later 20s and into my 30s, that I don't know everything. And that's okay. Whereas in my early 20s, I was like, I need to know everything. I can't ask anyone questions. My mom always told me it's a sign of weakness. You know, I can't bother someone. And I'm always like really afraid to like ask people for help, ask people for mentorship. And to redo everything all over again, I would probably be a little bit less fearless in terms of finding a mentor that I want to learn about and be proficient in the niche. What I learned throughout my 30s right now, it's people are a lot more generous than you think they are, and if you don't ask, you don't get. And just put yourself out there. But at the same time, you can't just be so intrusive. You can't be at a point where it's like, hey, mentor me now. It has to be a gradual, let's get to know each other process. I can provide this type of value to you. Most of the time when you find mentors right now or in your early stages, it really helps remind them of why they got started in their hustle. Because that's something that the entrepreneur path is extremely difficult. Sometimes you sit down and you wonder to yourself, like, why did I choose this type of emotional pain? And sometimes just having a mentee reminds you of why you do the things that you do.
That is actually a great plug for, ASOL's mentorship program. Like this is one of the biggest offers that we have to our members is having, we align you with another mentor and we guide you through, whatever journey you're on. And, that's great. That's what we're here. And that's where we do this thing, to help others, right? Really give back to the community. Ian, what about you? You said nothing because mistakes are good.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I have to agree with Brian again on this one. I think in my 20s, I definitely felt like I knew everything. But I feel like you got to fail on your face. You got to mess up big, because that teaches you to be humble. Um, but yeah, I mean, from what I noticed working with a lot of the National ACE board, and a lot of them are in their 60s, 70s, really accomplished folks. They sit on, they're like executives for the Fortune 500, whatever. They're really humble people. And that's the number one thing I learned from them is just to be humble, not think you know everything. But I do think you have to learn those things on your own, and it's, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, usually the smartest guy in the room is the quietest one, right? Or they say, they're always listening to what everyone else has to say and their knowledge, and they soak it all in. And it's all up in here. But that's why you got to ask those questions and pick the people's brains. You learn from them, and that's, yeah. Like Brian said, if you don't ask, you don't get. So you just gotta keep going with that uh, entrepreneur spirit, I guess. It's a good way to put it. I guess that's a good tie into my next question then. What is the top 3 skills needed to be successful entrepreneur?
I'll go first. I think the top 3 skills in my book, or at least for myself, is you have to be gritty. Like you have to be able to persevere through all the good times and bad times. This is very unpopular, but I also feel you have to know when to quit. I think strategic quitting, it's a great thing because sometimes people persist in their ideas for too long without pivoting, without innovating. And you're just wasting time and mental space and money on this idea that you should have quit a long time ago. And if you could like strategically quit, then you could pursue different ideas that may align with your vision a lot more. So I think that's the second one. And the third one is recognizing opportunity. I think that's a great skill. Seeing trends, being very positive, because in every downturn, I feel like there's always an opportunity to innovate, to become better. I think that especially with the Asian community, it's so easy for us to become very negative. And I've seen this through my cousins, my family, my siblings. But I think that if you keep a positive mindset all the time, you're gonna be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how dark the tunnel really is.
A good exit plan in a way.
Yeah.
Um, Brian, Ian, what about you? Top.
Yeah, I wrote this down before, and Brian and I had the same answers, but grit was my number one thing. I actually don't place creativity that high. I think grit is even more important. And I feel like especially when you're starting a business, they have that saying that B students are the ones that start businesses, and A students are the ones that work for them. It's because B students are okay with things not being perfect, right? And the enemy of good is perfection, right? So, I think grit gets you so far. Another thing too is humility, right? And I see this. We talked about it earlier, but I know for me in my 20s, it's not humble at all. My business was growing so fast. We had such a good product, and a lot of that was luck, right? We were the first like halal chicken and rice style food in Boston. Probably everyone knows Halal Guys now. They're in like Puerto Rico, wherever, right? But we were styled after them, and we just happened to carry their food first in Boston. So we were literally the ninth fastest growing private company in Massachusetts our first 4 years. So I always felt I was unstoppable. I always thought I was this amazing entrepreneur. But sometimes it's luck, and I think a lot of it in the early days was luck. And, that was the first 4 or 5 years that I felt that way. Now I'm in my 9th year of doing this. I'm definitely more humble, definitely listen to other people's opinions more, or try my hardest to. It's not always easy, but that's how you overcome blind spots, which we've definitely fallen into a lot with our business.
How has the pandemic impacted your businesses, and what have you done to pivot during this past year?
Yeah, going along with the humility piece, like the best thing I did was stay in contact with other entrepreneurs. Um, Not only other Asian entrepreneurs through the National Asian Chamber of Commerce Network, but also other food entrepreneurs. I made sure to be really generous with the knowledge that I had. In turn, they shared it with me. So, for example, all the food trucks, we vended in the city of Boston. 90% of our business was in the city of Boston. But with COVID, there's nobody working downtown. So what we all had to do is we had to go out to all of the apartments, the breweries, and find out where the best spots were. So what I would do is I would organize meetings with all of them. We would just talk on Zoom, share notes. I even shared my sales with them. And, one thing, the theme of this talk is things that people don't tell business leaders is business karma exists. If you give to others, they will give back to you, right? Even Gary Vee said this on a video on Instagram. He was like, nice guys don't finish last because people want to help nice guys, right? So through the pandemic, even myself sharing the information first, a lot of food trucks would call me, hey, this spot's really good. You should check it out. We did X number of sales. Or they would be like, oh, I can't make this. Can you do this? Right. So, um, you know, reaching out to others and knowing that I don't have to be the one that has to figure out the pandemic, and working with others and helping them, that was probably the best thing that helped my business during COVID.
Thanks.
Yeah, so as for myself, I think COVID has sort of forced us to think very differently. At the same time, it also accelerated Asian Hustle Network in many ways. People are flocking to online communities for support, for comfort, because there's so much uncertainty that was going on at the beginning of the pandemic. People's stores are forced to close. There's a lot of racism, xenophobia happening in America against the Asian population, and it still is. There's still a lot of Asian hate crime still going on. So that really accelerated AHN for good and for bad. There was a lot of negativity at the beginning into Asian Hustle Network, where we took everyone's feedback seriously. Like, we read through everyone's concerns. We made a note of that, and we turned those concerns into things that we can implement for the community. First things first is, like, we had to help create resource guides for people pivoting during COVID. And we wanted to create more AMA sessions to have the community help the community in many situations. And the last thing is, we put together a marketplace based on people's feedback to support each other and support the Asian community and to really unite and stay firm with each other. On top of that, because of COVID, Asian Hustle Network, along with Michelle Hanabusa and Tammy Cho, helped create a nonprofit called Hate the Virus. And I believe last Saturday, we raised $15,000 for nonprofits and charities. And the first event that we had, we raised $17,000 for small Asian business owners. This wouldn't be possible without the united effort of the community and just the need to support each other during this tough time.
That's amazing. That's great work. And yeah, I mean,
all the credit goes to the community members and my teammates.
So now that, everyone knows that they got to expand their networks, give back to the community, what are some advices that you could give people or tricks that you have discovered to keep you focused and productive in your day-to-day business schedule?
Kind of going along with the grit theme, I think a lot about grit too is like your own mental health. For me, I'm such a classic CEO. Like, I hate being bored. I have ADD. I want to do like 50 million different things, but I don't get things done sometimes, um, and a lot of times with the COVID and everything, it hit me hard. I gained like, I was, oh man, I gained like 30, no, close to 30 pounds. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And I wasn't really like processing, how like terrible this whole thing was. I was just like day to day grinding it out, trying to work, eating food to make myself feel better. And I was like, okay, all right, I gotta get back to the gym, gotta take care of myself. But I think as an entrepreneur, right, I've been doing this for 9 years. It's like you go through those ups and downs all the time, right? And you gotta know when you're like slipping, right? And you gotta find ways to come back. So my two pieces of advice is, for me, when I reach those low points and I recognize them, I'm kind of introverted, so I like to go take hikes. I go hiking and read a good book. Last winter, I went to hike in the snow. It was beautiful, and I listened to Oprah's Audible on The Path Made Clear about how to live a fulfilling life. And I came back energized, like ready to go. So knowing when you've reached down points and how you come back from them, and documenting it and having principles about, okay, this is what happens when I get down. and this is what I need to do to overcome it, right? So that's the first one. The second thing is setting up really good routines. And part of that is knowing yourself. For me, since I have ADD and I'm all over the place, I need to be very structured and scheduled. So I try to, when I'm at peak performance, I would try to wake up as early as possible, work out, meditate, read before the day starts. And then the first thing I do is get all of the things I don't want to do done, and any of the hardest things I need to get done today, early in the morning. So like writing business plans or whatever, that's all in the morning. And then the rest of the day, I just organize my tasks, check my emails, do all that. That's peak Ian, but it's not always me. But that would be my advice. Get things done early.
That's great advice. Ryan?
Yeah, I think what Ian said is really important. I think take care of your mental health. That's the biggest thing. That's probably the hardest thing of becoming an entrepreneur. It's like taking care of your own mental well-being, because when you wake up until when you sleep, you're swimming in a bunch of stuff. Like you have to make a lot of decisions. People always come to you. You feel the impact of all the decisions that you make. You feel the impact of all the decisions that your teammates make. And you have to be able to manage your mental health for that and be positive no matter what happens. And I want to add on to what Ian said before about doing the hardest things in the morning. For myself, every time I wake up every day, I'm like, oh my God, I have so much on my calendar. I'm always swimming a bunch of stuff, And I think what helps for me is setting out time blocks. I'm very strategic with my day. Like from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., I'm gonna do this, and I'm not gonna have any distractions. I'm not gonna touch my phone. I'm not gonna check any of my messages. And then I always give myself like a 30-minute block. This is 30 minutes where I can relax my brain. I can do whatever I want. I can go eat. I can go walk. I could go on Facebook, social media, check out different things. And the thing about me is that I try not to work longer than 2 hours, because by knowing myself, I can't focus after 2 hours. I start to do very sloppy work. I can't make the correct decisions. So I work for 2 hours, and then I take a break for half an hour, and I work for an hour, and I take a break for 15 minutes, and then I work again for an hour, and I take a break for half an hour. So my day is like very segmented between work and fun. And I feel like that's really good for mental health too. Because sometimes I take a break and I come back and like, wait a minute, I'm writing this business plan completely wrong. Wait, I gave such a wrong advice. What was I thinking? And when you try to cram everything back to back without giving yourself a mental break, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you shouldn't do that. So that's my tips and advice. Other tip that I really like to do is I really try to limit myself towards making 3 business decisions each day. The first business decision is like, what can I do to improve? And the second thing is, what can I do to put out this fire? And the third thing is like, what can I do to make the team and community much better? Those are the 3 categories that I try to make each day. Over time, I make, 30 decisions per month for each of those categories. And if you do that, it's like, it takes away some of the burden that you feel every day. If you have to make like 10, 15 decisions each day, it's not going to pan out really well.
I hope people are taking good notes here, because this is really, really good advice. I think the whole recognizing when you're not being productive and to kind of just step away and give yourself that time to regroup is really important. For myself, I also work long hours. I start early, and I don't know, sometimes 12-hour days, and I guilt myself sometimes when I'm not productive. And then I spend an entire time feeling awful about not being productive, when I can just tell myself, no, you need to take a break. So just fully enjoy that break moment, whether it's to go take a hike, just, a walk around the neighborhood. I know now we're all kind of stuck at home with COVID, but you could still go out for a little bit, safely, and take that mental break when you need it, so that you can really come back and do better work instead of just pushing yourself all the time. That is, again, really great advice. I wish I could be taking notes right now. I'll definitely go back and look at the recordings and make sure I put it into practice in my day-to-day routines. So I think we talked about it already, but what are some key activities that you would recommend entrepreneurs to invest their time in?
I think it's all about learning to time manage correctly. That's super important. Understanding how you work, what's your product, like how do you stay productive, how do you learn, and really invest into yourself in terms of like taking care of your mental health or self-improvement. I think that's one of the key things that entrepreneurs should invest their time in, is to improve and learn a lot more and to time manage better.
Ian, you mentioned some books that you read in the morning. Do you each have a couple books that you would recommend our audience?
Yeah, I read a really good one called Can't Hurt Me. It's it's a New York Times bestseller. It's from a Navy SEAL who grew up in like a terrible, terrible like childhood. Like his dad would beat his mom, would beat him, and he just grew up with this really negative mentality that he's a victim. And then he cheated his way through high school. He didn't even know how to read until like really later on in his life, but he just cheated his way to through his exams. And then he got inspired to join the army, and through that, like he developed really hardcore discipline. He became a Navy SEAL. He almost made the Delta Force. I think he became a what's it called? He became an Army Ranger, and he started running ultra marathons. Like he ran an ultra marathon, which is a 100-mile run, without any training. He did it like 5 days beforehand, but he just used like mental grit and discipline to get through that. And the reason why I really like that book is like I know that I suffer from kind of that like lack of focus sometimes, and I think he mentions it a lot in the book is like this generation with, everything that's going on with all of the distractions is like they're not going to know sometimes how to just grind things out, right? That's such an old school mentality. And even if I look at my parents and they're like, I never had to love my job. I just did it because I need to make money to support the kids. And now we're like, oh, I got to have a job that has purpose. And I think it's fine to do that, but it's also have to have the necessary grit to do that.
Yeah, so Ian, that's a great book. I really like the book as well. You should follow him on Instagram. He's like pretty hardcore with all his videos and workout routines every morning.
Yeah, I follow him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I guess my favorite books would be Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. He talks about how Nike was being founded, how it used to be a side hustle when he was working as an accountant, and his looking up to Adidas, trying to catch them as like David and Goliath type of moment. It's really awesome to hear like, oh wow, like I think this is back like I don't know, right after World War II that he started Nike, and just hearing his mindset and his journey, and then sort of makes you realize that it doesn't matter what era you're in, like the entrepreneur journey is the same for everyone. There's always ups and downs, and trying to innovate and trying to just really enjoy the journey and manage your team really well. The second book that I recommend is Educated by Tara Westover. I like this book a lot. It's not really geared towards entrepreneurship, but it's more towards overcoming adversity and understanding that her circumstance put her, I don't want to ruin the book for people. It's a really good book. And she grew up in Idaho. She went to school in Utah, but she's homeschooled most of her life, and her parents didn't believe in educating, their daughter. That you grew up and you just worked in someone's house. It's really crazy to hear that she persevered through all these things, overcome her own personal beliefs, learn to amplify her voice, and really make a difference and change her life. And it's crazy because she's like our age too, like in her early 30s, mid 30s.
Yeah, I heard great things about The Educated. Good thing you didn't give it too much of it away, because now I'm going to go download it on audio.
Yeah.
We actually had a question in the queue, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask it. It's if you needed to close a deal or have a contract signed, what is the best way to reach the decision maker to get it done?
Ian?
Marketing guy.
Give it to my marketing guy. That's delegate.
Yeah. The best way to reach the decision maker, it's kind of different for me because I always end up talking to the decision maker. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard for me to answer.
I actually think the best way is through relationships, and those take time, and I can tell you from a little bit working in the nonprofit world with sponsorships, right? So we have corporate sponsors with Toyota, Coca-Cola, Walmart, right? And the way that those sponsorships are received is not because, well, some of it is you apply for it, right? But those kind of sponsorships get thousands and thousands of applications. But when you look behind the scenes, it's really like the folks at National Ace have these lifelong relationships with these sponsors, and the sponsors trust them to deliver on the things that they say they will, right? So, in my experience as well in business, it always comes down to relationships. You can cold call, you can do all of these things, but in the end, relationships open the door so quickly.
Yeah, I think we really hammered that one in, throughout the entire presentation. Relationships, networking, knowing the right folks. So Brian, we actually have another question for you from earlier. Who is the most famous person you were able to meet through AHN, and when are you moving to SoCal?
I wonder who's asking me that question. I guess the most famous person, or I met a good amount of famous people through AHN. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to. Probably the most famous would be Eric Lee, the co-founder of LinkedIn. I got to meet him in person, shake his hand, talk to him for like an hour or two. It was really awesome. I was panicking, I was sweating. I was like, oh man, he knows my name, type of thing. Other people I met is the Shibutami siblings, the ice skater, brother and sister. Goon Kao, the founder of Crunchyroll. I love him because I watch all the anime on his website. And probably Patrick Lee, the co-founder of Rotten Tomatoes. And I
I
met
didn't hear my
them.
name, Brian.
What happened?
I didn't hear my name, Brian.
And Ian So.
Just kidding.
Moving to SoCal. So I'm planning to come back to SoCal for a month or two in like a couple weeks or so. Just like be with my family. Be in the Bay Area by myself is kind of lonely, so I want to go back home.
Yeah, well, there's another question for you, Brian, that says, if your venture fails today, what are your plans for tomorrow?
Taking vacation. That's it. I'm done.
Go back to SoCal.
If my venture fails today, I feel like at this point in my life, I feel like anything is possible. So I think if it fails today, I'll probably pursue like a nonprofit type of organization. I want to do something related to environmental improvements, like creating biodegradable bags and biodegradable straws. I feel like I learned so much about that recently that it just really impacted my life, and I'm like, I wanted to pursue that when I get an opportunity to.
And it's never a failure, right? It's always an opportunity.
Yeah. It's when one door closes, many more opens. So as long as you keep that mindset going, your life is still so long. If you take it year by year, day by day, it's like we have a long, long way to go to do anything.
Yep, that's right. So we're right at the 6:15 mark. I want to turn it over to our audience to see who has any questions. Please comment, let us know and we'll share it with the panelists. Don't be shy.
No questions for us, Brian.
Don't be shy, guys. I'm about to ask Ian a question.
Great job.
You guys really nailed it.
That's why there's no questions.
I actually have a good one while we wait for questions to come in. How has being an entrepreneur affected your family life?
Ian, you want to go first?
Well, I don't have a family, so it doesn't. But maybe that's why I don't have a family. I don't know.
For me, I always try to combine work with pleasure. And then I find that most of the casual conversations I have with my parents are about business, about improving, about helping the world, about helping the community. And I realized that if we can combine work and leisure together, it never really interrupts family time, you know? But at the same time, you want family time sometimes to not talk about business at all. Then it goes back to having time blocks, you know, knowing that there are days that you have to spend your family and you have to block out that time for them, you know? And then if you guys could try to combine being an entrepreneur with your family, and then, you know, when you guys talk about strategic thinking or business plans or whatnot, if that's fun to you, then that shouldn't be excluded from family time, right? And it's the same thing about, you know, teaching my little cousins about running numbers, looking at reports. Like, if you make it fun, anything can be fun. And when you make it fun, it doesn't have to intrude into family time.
Makes sense. I mean, I don't know. You know, I do the same thing. I really try to just right at 6 o'clock or something, I turn my phone off. I start watching TV and I tell myself, don't check your phone. Don't start. Because once you do, then you like jump right back into it. So yeah, the mental block or, you know, time block off is really important. We got another question. It's tell us about the hardest part of being a business owner. Everything. Too many hats.
Sometimes you want to cry, but there's no one to cry to. You're like, oh no, I'm by myself.
Anytime, Brian. We could do a crying webinar.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part of being an entrepreneur that no one really told me is how quickly things can get really bad and how quickly things can be really good, you know, and it could change week by week, but it's up to you to always be very optimistic and very positive all the time. And essentially, when you're working with a team of very talented people, people tend to have a lot of different ideas all the time. And as a leader, you're supposed to guide them back to the North Star. This is our mission statement. This is our purpose. And you ask yourself questions like, okay, for this project, for this feature, or whatnot, does it align with what we want to do? Does it align with our North Star? If it doesn't, we can't focus on that. You know, another thing is learning like which priorities comes first, like which one's more important, looking at the time, money, and resources that we have and the political landscape or anything like that. Like how can we push out this feature or product for our community to benefit and support everyone?
All right, this one is for Ian. What is the greatest achievement since you founded NextGen?
Good question. I don't have any, I guess, single achievements, but I really love what I do, which is help entrepreneurs. And the reason why is because I always feel like I've always been kind of a misfit. I was such a bad student. Uh, I was like, one time in elementary school, I went to the principal's office and the teacher forgot I was there. So I spent 5 hours in the principal's office. That's how bad of a kid I was. And I don't think she did that by accident, actually. Um, but I think entrepreneurship is such a great path for people that are different. But I also feel like it's such a great economic development tool to bring a lot of our communities further in America, right? It's just such a great thing, you know. So I love what I do, you know, and it's nice when I hear from people. And the other day I had a call, and this really successful lady, she was like, you don't know this, but you've really like helped me and impacted me through these years. You know, I want to create a scholarship of like $1 million and donate a quarter of it to Ace Next Gen. You know, it hasn't happened yet, but it's really touching to hear those kind of stories, and you know, come up here and there, and that's all I need. You know.
It's always nice to hear, you know, feedbacks from community and, you know, really seeing your impact. It's always a good, you know, knowing that you're on the right path, you're doing the right things. Um, so then what is, for the both of you, what is your greatest accomplishments? Not that, we've been talking all about your greatest accomplishment, but if you have to name one, what is your greatest accomplishment and what challenges did you have to face to achieve them?
Oh man. I think my greatest accomplishment is not personal, but watching the community come together during a time of need to really support each other and not having to be the one that has to initiate the action or conversation, but seeing like the culture that you put into place and people really embracing it and really supporting each other and really uplifting each other is probably one of my greatest accomplishments. And I can't even claim credit for that. My team is largely responsible for that. The community is largely responsible for that. Sometimes I always tell my team that all I really did was create a community, and everybody sort of took care of each other. There's a lot more work that comes into it. I think the second part was what kind of challenges that we face. I think challenging like the challenges that we face so far within the Asian Hustle Network is um, just navigating through the political climates, and with the whole COVID situation happening, that's one of the biggest challenges that we had. It was to keep our vision alive and positive when everyone else is feeling really negative. To keep our community supporting each other. So we are, our parents' generation, like they're really separated by one generation of war, literally in Asia, where they fought each other, our grandparents fought each other, and trying to keep people identify themselves as not just Vietnamese American or Chinese American or Korean American, but just Asian American, has been extremely difficult, but it's extremely rewarding at the same time to watch us come together to not only make waves, but big waves, and that's probably the greatest accomplishment and challenges I face so far.
Amazing. Ian, what about you?
For me, it's just being here right now. I can't believe I was looking at my LinkedIn. It's like, you've been working at Chicken and Rice Guys for 9 years and 1 month. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's about to be 10 years, and I've gone through so much with my business. We had like a foodborne illness outbreak. We had tax issues. We had managers pass away. We had, car accidents, truck accidents, all of these things. It's just so hard to be a business person, but so rewarding. And I was joking with Brian before this call. He's like, "How's business?" I'm like, "I'm breaking even," And during this time, I'm just so proud of that, just to be, getting through, and I'd say to all the entrepreneurs out there, hey, hold on, just hold on. We got maybe 4 or 5 months of this, and we'll be back. It'll be good times like before, Yeah, I've lived through it. It all passes.
Yeah, that's, you never know what issues will be on your table tomorrow. And you just got to deal with them as they come. That's really the best you can do. So then on that note, would either of you ever go back to the corporate world? Or Brian?
It really depends. If there's an opportunity to make the world a better place, I don't see why not, because I feel like life is so long. You never know where things are going to take you. It also depends on how I got to my organization to a point where it doesn't need me anymore. And if I can bring that knowledge and expertise to someone else who's starting out, who wants to change the world, and I feel like who has a better implementation of changing the world, yeah, I don't see why not. I think that we should never keep our doors closed at any opportunity, because you just never know where life's going to take you.
Yeah. Being able to pivot and be flexible, I think, is also one of the big takeaways for today, I feel.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
absolutely. I would work in the corporate world. I miss vacations. I remember you're able to take 2 weeks off, you get paid, somebody does your work for you. People don't try to call you. Oh my goodness, I missed that. I missed that. So absolutely, I would just make sure that I have a good boss that is not a micromanager. Not that my old bosses were, but I just think that's important. And then I'm working on something impactful and creative. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Ian. Everyone calls you 7 days a week. It doesn't matter what day you're in. It's just like, dude, it's Sunday. It's like 10 p.m. on Sunday night. People still call you.
Yeah.
The double-edged sword of being your own boss, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're almost at time, so I'm just going to wrap up. Thank you so much for your time, Ian and Brian. The information that you've shared has been really beneficial for me and the audience. For those of you viewing, please thanks these two hardworking individuals for sharing their knowledge. And if this has inspired you to learn more on how to lead your own small business venture, or if you just like to continue to stay informed, then please continue to like and share our ASOL events and continue to participate. If you would like to stay in the loop and be more involved with ASOL, we welcome you to join as a member. We have chapters again in Phoenix, Southern California, San Jose, Las Vegas, as well as our collegiate chapters with the University of Arizona and the Arizona State University. The process to join is easy. The information on what membership can provide you can be found on our website. So thank you all for joining us this evening. I would like to thank our volunteers, Jason, in connecting with our guest speakers and our event planning. And thank you to Amanda and Faye for organizing the event. Thank you for Betty for running the technical aspects. We'd like to thank our guest speakers again. Brian and Ian, thank you so much for your time. Have a great evening, everyone. Take care.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Bye.
See ya.
Yeah.